Okay, let's do it. This is our last roundup of 2024. And like every other month, there is loads for us to talk about. And we will start, shall we, by saying this was us just under a month ago at our event in London, which we will tell you a little bit more about in a second. We have record numbers of people that have registered for today. So if you're watching live, thank you. If you're watching on the recording, thank you as well. We hope you find this session useful. Very quick intros if you haven't met us before or watched this session. My name's Luan. I'm a marketer, been in marketing for over 25 years, spent all of my time on social media, talking to clients, teaching this topic as well. Hours of teaching this week, which is amazing. So it's good to see some familiar names already coming on to the screen.
And you forgot an important part about the author, the prolific author that you are, Luan.
Yes, four books out. One more due next year. We're halfway through writing it. More on that.
I always try and follow that with like, oh yeah, I'm an author too. I wrote one book and that broke me and that was fine. So I don't know how you managed to write 5, but there you go. I'm Andy. If we've not yet met, about 7 years ago now, co-founded a social media technology company of which we sold to Adobe. So now I work at Adobe building social media products, which means therefore I have to stay very close to what's happening in the world of social to try and build products and services to support marketers. So that's why it is always a joy to do these sessions and talk about directionally what's happened over the course of 24 and cast some predictions for 25 as well, which we've put at the end.
Yeah.
You want to cover this one?
Yeah, let's talk about this first because we had the pleasure. It was a first for us doing a proper full day face-to-face conference, and we were delighted to have over 120 people in the room with speakers and practitioners travelled from across the country, some international as well, a full day event. And we loved it so much, we've already committed to doing it again for next year. It's by practitioners, for practitioners. We had a complete mixture of presentations, fireside chats, panel discussions as well. If you missed it this year and want to access the content by buying a super early bird ticket for next year, we will give you a copy of all the recordings. If you missed it or you were there, you can get your ticket and get super organised for the 12th of November next year. And there's the link.
Tickets.
Scan that in or go to Social Day B2B website and you can grab your ticket. We are meeting up next week to start planning, reshaping the structure of the day, thinking about topics, thinking about speakers. We won't announce them all at once, but hopefully you will trust us that we will be bringing to you what you need to know as marketers for the end of 2025. And I think we covered a lot. From personal branding to B2B advertising to careers, employee advocacy. Some of those we will revisit, and there will be some new topics along the way as well.
Definitely. And also, it's worthwhile saying because we've got a lot longer run up to this event than we had before. So if there's anyone who's watching now that has any thoughts as to who they'd love to see speak or topics you'd love to see us cover, then go ahead and follow them into the chat because we are all ears to trying to figure out something that's even better than last year.
Yeah.
Cool. The only other thing I'm going to mention very quickly before we actually get into the other stuff, we've been busy building out the free content scheduling tool and content planning tool as part of Adobe Express. So you've now got the ability to share calendars with teams. If you work in a team and client situation or you want to share it with the rest of your social team, you can now do that. We've now got post suggestions embedded into it. So some content strategy guidance. So if you ever think I speak some sense in terms of what good social media strategy looks like, we basically baked that stuff into the product now too. So hopefully it gives you some good guidance. Check it out. And it's all entirely free, which is an absolute joy. Right then, data and trends.
Should we just caveat this to say, if you haven't seen it before, we are going to run through some data, some recent reports that we've read, and then we'll go platform by platform. Andy and I like to read the news separately every day, but we come together every month to run through a deck where we don't rehearse this, but we share our thoughts on the data and the platform features as we go through. There is a lot. We do this because we read it anyway, so why not wrap it up in an hour for those of you that are super busy and want to stay in the know with us. There is a lot. We don't want to overwhelm you. Take away from it what you need. And yes, this is being recorded. And yes, at the end, we will share with you how to get a copy of the slides, so you don't need to scribble because we're going to go fast.
Great call outs. Perfect. All right, then. We'll also recap things, because even though there's a lot coming your way, typically you could bucket this all into 4 or so themes. And then we'll talk about how that's going to manifest into 2025 too. So we can all start thinking about what our next year's content strategies look like. Right. I'm going to first share some data. I actually posted this on LinkedIn earlier, but I absolutely love it. Now, this is probably the least surprising result that you'll ever see in some data in your life, which is, guess what? Performance marketing plus brand equals better results, i.e. if people are more aware of your brand, you'll typically get higher conversion rates. Like, shock horror. We expected this. But sometimes, as we know, I'm sure there'll be lots of people that are listening today that always are fighting the whole kind of like brand building versus, performance marketing, short versus long-term results. And many businesses, given current economic climates, thinking more about short-term results. How can we squeeze as much as possible? But the reality is, it's not, one isn't better than the other. It's never an either or. It's about having the best possible balance. And data like this really helps us like prove a point to our broader marketing teams, leadership teams, whoever needs to see it, to know that actually better brand marketing results in better performance marketing results, right? So we will see orders of magnitude improvement in conversion rates should we invest more in our brand. Now, the next bit of data, which I think is even more useful because it gives us a benchmark to shoot for. And I'd never seen this kind of data. Now, I think we all know about the importance of brand building awareness and the impact of that on conversion. But actually, when you start to think about what's a goal that we can look for, so 37%, according to this data, which was provided by both a marketing company called Tracksuit and TikTok themselves, this magic number is like 37%. And what that means is 37% prompted awareness. If you're not familiar with what prompted or unprompted awareness is, the high level is this. It's when you survey a group of your target audience, and prompted awareness is when you give them a list of companies to say, which of these are you aware of? Like Adobe Express, Canva, Photo, Pixar, that kind of thing. If I think about my category, that's prompted awareness. Unprompted awareness is what design tools come first to mind. So that's prompted or unprompted. I don't actually have a strong point of view as to which is better to do a study on. But either way, doing those studies at your business, especially when you're going into like a new year, you can cast your aspersions around what your brand health looks like. So if your prompted brand awareness is below 37%, you'll have significant incremental gains in terms of your conversion efficiency. So whenever you're doing your paid ads, the higher you take your brand awareness up to this 37% number, you're going to see a orders of magnitude improvement in your conversion efficiency, basically click-through rates. And that kind of level starts to tailor off over 37%. The marginal gains get less. Yes, of course, as we get to 100% brand recognition, of course, there's still incremental gains to be had, but actually trying to get us to 37% should be the objective. So as we think about our strategies, balancing the short and long, balancing or brand building with performance marketing, think about that, accommodating the budget to allow us to hit that kind of 37% goal, and making sure we've got the time in our kind of overall marketing strategy to spend the time to look at like your awareness and prompted or unprompted awareness metrics. We focus on this very heavily at Adobe, and whilst I can't share the numbers publicly, it's a huge marketing budget which is all focused on shifting that awareness numbers, and that is so important. So really useful data to give us some like the gold standard and a benchmark to shoot for. Any questions, let me know in chat, but I found this really useful. Luan, any takes on this?
No, I absolutely love this, and I think it's really important, and it's one of the hardest things that we do in this kind of like marketing sales alignment, isn't it, to think long term and big picture. This is not a monthly target, this is an ongoing thing. So to have this kind of data and at this time of year as we start to think about next year is really important. Again, like you, prompted or unprompted, I don't mind which. I think it often depends on the situation, where you're at with business growth, who you're asking, and the purpose of the question as well. But knowing which room you want your name to be said in is also key.
Yeah, definitely. I typically outsource those kind of things, but yeah,
Oh,
you definitely want to go to you, whoever your target audience is, and just do a survey there. Be so useful to help again, like prove the budget requests that you might need for your brand awareness oriented marketing. Cool. All right. With that, let's go on to some other data points before we go network by network and look at all the feature updates. I don't think this will be a surprise for anyone, considering most of the viewership on this calls from LinkedIn. You won't have been on LinkedIn and not seen a lot of video content and lots of people talking about incredible reach rates that they're getting from their LinkedIn video at the moment. So many people reporting that their impressions are going through the roof. Does that actually mean like totally good things? Possibly not, because LinkedIn is figuring a lot of stuff out right now. It's basically serving videos far and wide. Targeting of those seems kind of questionable, given that like engagement rates for those videos that have got incredible reach has fallen through the floor. So that really just shows that LinkedIn quite haven't algorithmically got their targeting right. But it took Instagram a long time to get there. Obviously, we know that TikTok are masters in that craft. It's going to take a bit of time for LinkedIn to get there. But ultimately, video immersive views increasing 6% year over year. Overall viewership up 36% year over year. Video is really where it's at. Luan, you've always got good points on LinkedIn. We should take here.
I find this really interesting, and I know that you've been doing video consistently week on week for years before this became, a new tab on the mobile app. My only point on this is reach isn't the only objective for everyone. It is just part of the funnel. I'm seeing a lot of people coming out going, oh, my numbers have gone through the roof and things like that, but they always talk about top of funnel metrics. And we do need to do that, as you've just said on the slide before, but also I want to see some conversion. Is this driving inquiries? Is this driving prompted and unprompted awareness as well? So reach is just one objective. It's absolutely important, but let's not forget the other stages as well.
Yeah, love that. And yeah, guess what? We've just been speaking about reach anyway, so I don't think we need to cover this. There were some interesting studies and lots of people, as you can see, this is from the Search Engine Journal. There's TechCrunch covering this. A lot of the tech press is like, oh, LinkedIn's hot right now. This is exciting. So it's performing, and this is actually really good data point to prove your point just a second ago, Luan. Like, yeah, video, great for reach. You're going to get more eyeballs on your content than ever before. Great. But text posts still drive stronger engagement. So your engagement rates will still be stronger on text posts. So it's about like balancing again, like reach and engagement, like breadth and depth. So I think it now starts to think that LinkedIn actually can form two parts of our marketing funnel and overall strategy. So yeah, both thinking video reach, conversion, more kind of engagement oriented activities, more in your text posts and the carousels.
It's a bit turning into the kind of the TikTok and the Reels, isn't it? Like the For You feed versus your follower feed as well. So we can think LinkedIn video is a bit more like your For You feed because you don't have as much control if you're looking at that on the app, whereas in the feed is much more about your existing followers. So it's quite a mindset shift.
Yeah,
definitely. Do both.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, yeah, just before we move on, actually, because I didn't mention this, like they also looked at some of the other metrics that are defining success. I don't think this is a hugely statistically significant study, but I think generally from my own experience too, and probably from yours as well, Luan, it's just general good guidance. Mornings seem to work best on LinkedIn too, and that's what this report found too. Posts under 5 minutes perform best as well. So as you would expect, shorter video posted in mornings is a good bit of guidance. Something else that is really positive about LinkedIn, and I'm sure there'll be a few people on the call right now that will be looking at this thinking, that flipping last, this, I don't think we need to talk about the benefits of this because I think we all know, but the fact that LinkedIn is having a bit of a moment right now and it's getting a lot more press and media attention means that more CEOs are starting to get more active on the platform, which once again, improves the utility of LinkedIn, helps us when we're pitching the whole personality-led growth approach to our senior leadership team or whoever in our business. it's really nice that we can have some further proof points to say, you know, we're seeing a significant increase in posts from chief execs, particularly that like 30% rise in the UK, which is really interesting. And the content gets 4 times more engagement than other content from LinkedIn members. I mean, that's what you need when we start to think about like, are we just putting brand stuff out on our LinkedIn page, or actually do people want to hear from what our CEO has to say on the state of the industry, the market, and the direction of the business? You know, no brainer really. So Luan, anything else to add on this before we move on?
I think for me, this also ties in really nicely to the LinkedIn ads format that we've talked about a few times, the thought leadership ads. So if you can get your CEOs posting content or work with them to do that, and then put some budget behind it to do the thought leadership ads from your company page, I think those two go together hand in hand really nicely. I love the thought leadership ad thing.
Yeah. And just so you know that even in some of the world's largest businesses, so like in Adobe, I'm still found myself coaching our leadership team on like why this is important. So our need to evangelize this in our organizations will never stop, to be honest. But anyway, we've got my screenshots and data. So take a screenshot of this, send it to your CEO and say, see, I told you we should be on it. Some other interesting data that comes out of the EU. So there is more users that use Instagram in the UK and the EU than Facebook, which is really, really interesting, especially when we look at the overall data that, you know, last month we were looking at the big analysis that says Facebook's got 3 billion monthly active users. But interestingly, even though like the overall monthly active users of Facebook are 1 billion more than Instagram, you look at that in the UK and Europe, and actually it's a different story. So I think that's fascinating. And it also speaks volumes around like how we might want to think about our strategy and our kind of platform orientation going into next year. But again, I'm going to steal what you always say, Luan, here, which is this data is useful, but not as useful as your own data and your own kind of instincts based on what you understand about your audience and their preferences.
Thank you. I was going to say, what do I always say? Yeah, that is what I always say. I also love the look at the difference in the charts as well, the significant growth on Instagram, and some of the changes we're going to talk about in a couple of minutes, I think support that, but we'll also see even more growth in it next year. Yeah,
agreed. Reddit. Wow. What a time Reddit's having, eh? So I was about to do a bit of a spoiler for the slide that's coming, so I won't do that. Basically, Reddit's growing significantly. I'm going to show another slide which will evidence that even more. I've spoken about this, and we've spoken about this for the last couple of months now. Actually, their deal with Google has significantly moved the needle for them as they start to rank really high on search results. It's also kind of calling on that trend where we're seeing more people wanting to get advice and guidance from trusted networks, that kind of thing. So, you know, as we start to comment less as a broader society, commenting less publicly on social media platforms, spending a bit more time in like more those private community spaces to really get our questions answered. So I think, you know, Reddit's going to be quite a significant one to watch moving into 2025. But we'll talk more about that in a second, actually. Something that we'll probably talk quite a lot about over the course of today. It's going to be Bluesky, you know, 20 million users, of course, you know, a huge influx of users for reasons that we all know. More celebrities are starting to make the switch. Now, what that means and why that actually matters is because the talent brings their audience. And that's always the social networks, like we call it the cold start problem, because a social network is essentially a marketplace, right? It's matching supply of good quality content with the demand to consume it. So what comes first? So typically like platforms like TikTok, why it got so great in the first instance, spent a lot of time working with creators, getting the right talent in the platform, that kind of thing. So Bluesky will need to do more there for them to actually start to have a platform that will stand the test of time. But the important thing is here, it's like there is no novelty value to Bluesky, and I see that as a good thing. Like Clubhouse, everyone got excited about, but or Be Real, because this is new, this is different, and then people got excited. They both grew to about 10 million users respectively. Threads has doubled that, and it's just social networking as we know it. Post some text and images and videos and have people respond. that's it. So the fact that it started to gain this much traction for me says that it's probably going to stand the test of time. But in terms of our business investment, that is an inherently kind of personal choice, I would say, as to like if Bluesky is right for you. For me, it still feels too early, but definitely going to be watching it closely. Luan, what about you?
I think that's because we've seen all of these new platforms launch over the years and gone, will it take off? Will it disappear? Let's watch and see. I've been asked about this more than anything I think I've ever been asked about. So I put all of my thoughts in a blog. I will share that in the chat in a second because I got to that point. So I've looked at the data for Bluesky, Threads, X, what's happening, and also in this blog put together a list of things to think about why you should stay, why you should leave, and what to do as well. So there's data in there, and then, you know, are you going to stay active on a platform, leave it? What's the best way to do it? Questions that you should ask yourself. So I think this is an entirely personal decision. What does fascinate me about this, though, is this need for something new all the time versus thinking, do you know what? I'm just going to double down my efforts on the platforms where I'm established, I've got an audience, I've got consistency. Shift into something new rather than thinking that your plan for 2025 could be, I'm going to put more effort into LinkedIn or Instagram. That's the bit that fascinates me about this.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. I think us as marketers, we do have a bit of like shiny new thing syndrome for sure. And yeah, we feel a great sense of FOMO, especially because marketers carry on talking. We mostly hear from marketers, especially as we spend so much time on social platforms. We look at all of these people doing all these wonderful things and how Threads is exploding or how my growth has exploded on Bluesky and all that stuff. But yeah, the reality is like it doesn't take very long to do a quick like survey across your like customer base or your prospects, understand, you know, is Bluesky something that matters to them? Is that something that they're spending any time on? And if the answer is no, then, you know, all we need to do is be guided by our customers here in this one. There's very little upside in being first or early to a platform anymore. So yeah, but either way, your blog sounds great.
And I am on Bluesky if you want to follow me.
Hey, yeah, me too. I claim my handle, but not done
exactly.
anything. Yeah, and we won't talk much more about this because we all know, you know, Threads is significant. There's an interesting like PR battle shaping up between Threads and Bluesky, where there was some reports that Bluesky's actually got higher audience retention. People are spending longer on the platform. Adam Mazzari debunked that. But either way, it's kind of interesting why Threads felt the need to respond to something that compared to them in size is like a minnow. So yeah, it's interesting to see how that battle will play out. Either way, that whole kind of smaller micro community thing, and this is the overarching positive here, is that like, yes, the algorithmic led type of entertainment first content of YouTube Shorts, TikTok, Reels, etc., here to stay, continues to grow, serves its purpose. And that is your kind of, like we're talking with LinkedIn, that's your kind of reach, broader awareness, that kind of stuff, and allows us to get incredible numbers of eyeballs on our content, even when we don't have massive followers. But there's still a need, and clearly there is still a latent need in the world of social where people want to feel connected to their communities, a more deeper human interaction. And for me, I personally absolutely adore that. So whether it's Threads, whether it's Bluesky or Reddit or Quora or whatever, those smaller community platforms are here to stay. So thinking about our strategy around like, you know, broader reach and then deeper engagement will matter. Now, that kind of leads into some of this data, which I thought was absolutely brilliant. We very rarely see some like good quality, really detailed, like UK orientated data. So yeah, I was absolutely delighted to see this, which is just tells you data about me because I'm a nerd. Anyway, so like Reddit, 47% year-on-year growth in the UK from last May to this May. That shocked me, even though I've been tracking Reddit's growth for a while. That is significant. Little drop from X as we'd expect, minor drop from LinkedIn, which I find curious given like all the momentum around it. Couldn't quite reconcile that one, if I'm honest. But the other interesting thing, second place here is Quora. Again, like that question and answer site driving a huge amount of like engagement and users as people look to try and figure out what can I trust? Who can I speak to gain insight on a problem or a challenge that I'm facing? And whilst, you know, as a brand, we often think about social platforms as like, oh, here's a new platform or a new distribution channel we can post our content to. Reddit and Quora needs more of a kind of community management orientated mindset, a way like how do we get involved in these conversations? And also, you know, you might not even want to get involved at all, but being able to like take the data, what an audience is saying on Reddit, it's much easier to do with the advent of like AI and LLMs and all that kind of stuff. We can hoover the data out of Reddit to understand what an audience sentiment is. And that's where like it's super powerful to think about Reddit. Other than that, the other kind of standout things here is probably, well, not massively surprising actually, in terms of audience retention, you know, TikTok, YouTube, that's where the strength is. And it's also, you know, fair to say, when you look how strong YouTube is in the UK, we know it's massive, but like I'm just seeing brands underinvest in YouTube, and there's no reason to, especially with YouTube Shorts. So yeah, they're my kind of takeaways from here. But I find this super interesting data to think about, like directionally, where's social media headed? Where do we think like the biggest momentum is, and what can we capture? So that's my take. Sorry for a long waffle. What about you, Luan?
I completely agree, and I think YouTube is something that we haven't. We cover very briefly, don't we, under Shorts, but I think, again, if you were looking to what channels you were using in 2025, and I would have said this a year ago as well, thinking about doubling down on those platforms and video content and YouTube as well. I wish I'd done more on YouTube in the past. Change that.
Yeah, definitely. It's not too late. Not too late to start. But yeah, I felt the same. I really did. So YouTube, very important one for brands. All right, then. That's enough of my waffling.
Let's go. Meta. This is news from this morning, because it is the first thing I do every day. And I apologise, Andy, at the hour I messaged you this morning.
That was an early email.
To say, I've updated the deck. So Meta have announced their broadcast channels, which very much started as a one-way system, is now becoming more interactive. So a bit more group chat with replies. And as soon as this was announced, I got a message in my Instagram to say Adam Mazuri has relaunched his broadcast channel. So if you're watching him already in terms of his updates and his stories, he's now going to be doing all of that in a broadcast channel. Of course, you do need a significant number of followers. I think it's still 10K to set up a broadcast channel, but this kind of combines with the popularity of groups on Facebook as one of the reasons that people are still going there, but also the wanting the small group behind the scenes conversations rather than the public comments. So I think this is a big move, and one for 2025.
Yeah, definitely. More engagement is shifting into these private surfaces. So yeah, fascinated by this trend.
Yeah. Instagram. Oh, this is your favorite word, isn't it, Andy? Hashtags.
Oh, yeah. My little happy dance.
Yes. Again, as well as Blue Sky, I've been talking about hashtags on Instagram. So following hashtags. Many people, not everyone, will follow hashtags for insights, for competitor monitoring, etc. From the 13th of December, you will no longer be able to do that on Instagram. It doesn't mean that hashtags are going away. People will still search on the Explore tab in the search bar by hashtags. It simply means that you won't be getting lots of content in your feed if you were following hashtags for any reason. I think people were spamming the popular ones, therefore they're shifting this search. I believe hashtags are still useful. Why not use them? But remember, search doesn't just need the hashtag symbol in front of it. It's all about keywords effectively. But this does make following a little bit harder.
Yeah.
And you want to say anything on hashtags?
Well, the reason why I'm happier is that everything you said is like the sensible approach to using them. So like 3 to 5, absolute relevancy. It's just one of those things that social media gurus have spoken about, like, oh, this is your hashtag strategy. All of that's nonsense. That's a waste of time and confusing for people. And it's just like, social media isn't about those little tips and tricks and those little hacks. It's just about good quality stuff targeted at the right audience with a deep intrinsic understanding and empathy of who you're trying to serve. That's it. All of that kind of little twiddly nonsense is a huge distraction. So that's why, why I'm passionately against hashtags, even though 3 to 5 is fine, but well-chosen hashtags will not save a crappy post. That's all.
Twiddly nonsense. That's
Yeah.
my word of the. That would be my word of the year. We also, of course, love data, and the more data insights we get, the more valuable it is. So we are now getting more data in Instagram about Reels and what's driving those views. So have a look at that in your dashboard if you haven't and you are posting Reels. Views. Remember, Instagram have changed their primary metric to be about views. And we all know that in terms of video content, we're always looking at data around the first 3 seconds as well as completes. So we've now got that data in Instagram. And what I love on here, all followers and non-followers, which goes back to saying it's not all about your followers anymore. You can also be attracting significant numbers of non-followers through your content. So top of funnel.
And I think, as we talk about how important like this top of funnel, like engagement orientated content is, Reels, TikToks, Threads, or Shorts, etc. That metric of views past 3 seconds is super, super important, for us to judge the quality of our content. Because the quality of our content, given that a lot of comments will be shifting to more private surfaces, engagement rates are not necessarily going to always be the best way to judge whether something was good or not. That's why looking at things past the first 3 seconds shows actually, that captured audience attentions and retained users. That is a good framework of what a good post looks like. So I think this data is really important in helping us judge what good looks like. That's my take on this.
And don't waste the first 3 seconds of a reel with hellos and how are you and I've just jumped on for. Get straight into it, because if you don't get straight into it, you're not going to get past that 3 seconds.
Yeah, solid advice.
Adding text to reel covers. This is also about getting people to watch. Adam Azuri talked about this in one of his Ask Me Anythings and said it's useful in terms of setting expectations. So will it expand your reach? Potentially not. But in terms of having a cover, maybe text on the cover to help with the expectation and get people hooked in, worth doing.
Exactly. Looks better in your grid as well, in your profile.
Yeah. Resetting your recommendations. We all know that we are fed information in our feeds, posts, reels, based on how we interact with other people's content. If you are not seeing what you would like to be seeing, then there is a chance to go in and reset that. I know mine often shifts if I'm working in a particular sector and doing loads of research, and then the whole thing shifts around. So if that's you, or you just want some fresh inputs, go and reset your recommendations on Instagram. And a new dashboard for insights and ads as well. So for your organic and your advertising content, there's a bit more of a dashboard of insights that you can go and have a look at. I love that they keep tweaking this and giving us more data. Boosting content, we know it's still about engagement, and stories on Instagram are, remember, where you are nurturing and engaging with your existing followers, which is different to Reels and Feed. But in terms of your stories, how can you get more people engaged with them? Stickers, gifts, boosting with that content as well. So all good, nice little twiddly things that can make a bit of a difference, I think.
Yeah, that does matter for sure.
Yeah.
And I think one of the key things here is that we couldn't boost our content, we couldn't promote it if we had certain like gifts and stickers in it. But now we've got more flexibility there, which is good. So those things are good because they kind of capture attention. So yeah, I think it's a good one.
And stories, again, I like that we're getting more functionality on these all the time. Now being able to share multiple photos as a collage. I've seen these work really well as like those add yours stickers at the end of the month, like 6 places you've traveled this year, or your photo dump from November. So actually being able to do that as a collage, I think, is a nice thing as well. Highlights on stories. I'm not so sure about this. I do know that people do like to have highlights, and I know some people that are immaculate with their highlight cover images and their organization of them, but Instagram are moving where those highlights sit, so they will be part of your grid. They are moving, what did it say, 19th of November? Mine haven't moved yet, from the circle, so just something to look out for. Facebook. Like Instagram did a month or so ago, they have switched their views as a primary metric. This means that if anyone is doing their own reporting, you might need to completely rethink how you report for 2025 and reset, because it is all about views, not just reels, but of your main feed content as well. So it's a bit of a reset on your reporting, perhaps. Explore feed to reels. We're just seeing features that are on Instagram moving over to Facebook. I think this is one of those content formats that is cross-posted. So the fact that we've got the same features just makes it more user-friendly. WhatsApp button to Reels. This is interesting. So now I'm adding your WhatsApp button, so shifting people to those private conversations as well. Interesting that they want to do it to WhatsApp rather than Facebook Messenger. Obviously, they own both, but I think WhatsApp is being increasingly used by people for groups or individuals anyway. So just kind of makes sense.
You got it. And you do have an option of like Messenger here and WhatsApp on this one. So yeah, I think, again, just all speaking to this volumes of like more direct orientated conversation happening in like private spheres rather than, you know, comments happening on the post itself. So it's very interesting when you can see all the networks and all the different formats following that same overarching macro trend. That's why I said at the start, like there's typically just some very consistent threads that are knitting together all of these different updates. And yeah, that kind of rise of private sharing that we've been talking about for a few months is definitely one of those. And it's very interesting to see also talking about those kind of threads that unite these themes is like Facebook's investment in Reels. So clearly they're seeing a lot of momentum around video. I think about 60% of all content consumed on Facebook is now video. So potentially in the opportunity to drive reach and that overall top of funnel type of viewership and reach, maybe Facebook actually will be a good place for that. I haven't validated that, so that's just more of a hypothesis anyway. But you know, that's an opportunity to reverse the declines in organic reach potentially.
And a few changes to LinkedIn as well. This one, again, read first thing this morning. We'll have to wait and see on this one. This is for premium account users. You will be able to have a profile banner that has more than one image in there. So they are giving us that option to have multiple images in our profile header, which could be useful. Not everyone's even updated their profile header to start with, but interesting that they're adding that in. Not sure what that's going to look like. In terms of advertising, I've already mentioned how I love the thought leadership style ads and also newsletter ads as well, but the boosting on LinkedIn. So not the ads in Campaign Manager, but the boosting. Previously, we've only had the objective available of reach and engagement, but we now can use lead gen with our boosted posts. So that's content from your company page that you boost, just like you might have done on Facebook in the old days, a new lead gen objective. So a bit of a shift where they're going on that as well, further down the funnel. They have been offering top tips, LinkedIn, in terms of video creation and also other content. Can't quite see this on my screen, Andy, but it's about, if you remember 3 things, keep it short, and about your accompanying caption. I think it's what of you 50 characters, so they do want a caption with it.
50 words on that one. Yeah, words. Sorry for the low resolution. Right. Yeah. But yeah, short video, 2 minutes, between 15 seconds and 2 minutes. Obviously, there's not much you could do in 16 seconds really, but like 2 minutes. I always shoot for 90 seconds personally. Important next point, content doesn't have to be exclusive to LinkedIn. Just shows how short LinkedIn are of content. It's like, you post it anywhere, please give it to us too. So that's basically LinkedIn's desperation for having, like, demand is shallow at the moment. So I think that's where, you know, I talk about related to Bluesky. I said there's very little first mover advantage there, but actually I see a lot of first mover advantage for LinkedIn video, because there isn't enough supply to meet the demand, which is good, which is why some videos are getting like 1 million impressions. So I think there's a lot of potential there. And yeah, your point, yeah, strong accompanying post, 50 words at least. So there's still a lot of importance in well-structured and crafted storytelling on LinkedIn.
And also in the last couple of weeks, they've offered guidance for content creation. I'm sure many of you are doing this already, but it's basically be original in your content. Don't copy and paste other people's. We've all seen it. Insightful content and conversations. And I've got it open on my second screen now. If you're sharing other people's content, try and add context to it. So what LinkedIn are looking for in terms of content is value add. It's not pressing buttons and pushing things out there or sharing other people's content. It's your original insights, your thought leadership. That's what they're wanting. They're saying lead with a strong opening hook. Could be a question, could just be a title so that people know what the post is about. Write in short paragraphs. There is a return key on people's keyboards. Please use some spaces sometimes. Make it easy to read. They are saying use relevant hashtags. That came out a couple of weeks ago. So LinkedIn is saying still use hashtags. Tag people and companies when it's relevant. I'm going to add in and end with a call to action. What do you want people to do when they have seen your post? You don't just post going, here's my blog, because people will scroll past it. You invite them to do something as a takeaway. So best practices, nothing new in there, but I think a good reminder that LinkedIn is looking for value add, not just kind of light touch.
Yeah, no, I agree. And just there's subjectivity around those two in there. So relevant hashtags, don't stuff like 20 of them. Like you see those posts with 20, just no point. And tag people and companies, you see all those people that tag like 20 companies and people into it. That's fine if you know those people are going to either like or engage in some way. If they don't, it adversely impacts your post. So I am always very mindful as to who I tag in that post, because if they don't engage, it's going to impact the post negatively. So just be really mindful on that, because you want to drive as much impact as possible. There's always devils in the detail with these kind of like high level suggestions. So as we all know.
Yeah, I always say, sorry, just go back. I always say, if you thinking of tagging people just to alert them about the post, you don't need to do that on LinkedIn. Send a Teams chat or a WhatsApp. Andy will know sometimes I'm like in WhatsApp going, just on a post, share would be nice. You can do it other ways. You don't need to tag in for attention. It's just spammy and noisy. So you can do it in other ways. We don't do it all the time. We know what we're doing.
Yeah, exactly.
LinkedIn events, which we are doing now as a live, but previously LinkedIn have had live events, video events separately to audio events. A bit like the demise of Clubhouse, they are rolling audio events into the same place. They work exactly the same way. You'll just need to upload a static image instead of going live on a video, but it'll all be in one place rather than separate drop downs if you've been setting them up. Today is International Volunteering Day. If anyone was aware of that, I love this new addition from LinkedIn to say that you are open to volunteering. I will share that with this. I volunteer for a local charity. I've always been an advocate for volunteering, maybe for your professional body, something with the industry. It's a great way to fill gaps that may not be fulfilled by your day job, or just to give back to other communities, support beliefs and interests. So now if it is something you're interested in doing, you can add an open to volunteer option to your profile. Or if you are involved and looking for volunteers, go and search people out on LinkedIn that have said they're open to it.
Love it. Alrighty, let's do TikTok. They're making it easier for people to add affiliate product links. And why this matters is that TikTok are becoming an e-commerce giant. $150 billion of e-commerce has gone through it already this year, and that's not over the Christmas period. So it's incredible. Whilst that's tiny compared to Amazon, it really is on that path. So what that means, really, if you are a B2C or D2C type of brand, and you're working with like creators and ambassadors, influencers, and that kind of stuff, they're really leaning into helping people make money on the product. So you can see that if anyone wants to get affiliate deals, they can be linked to very easily in TikTok now. So TikTok understands the power of personality and the influence of the personality, and they're leaning into making it as easy as possible to help individuals promote products. Unlike the other platforms which kind of penalize links, TikTok are leaning into it. So it's very much becoming like a commerce behemoth right now. That was it from TikTok. Onto Threads. Custom feeds are coming. Well, they're here now, actually. So you can have feeds based on your own interests. And that is all about, again, having more customized experiences directly to you. So a feed related to your own interests, which might be, gardening or automotive or whatever it might be. And again, this speaks to the thread that we were talking about, pardon the pun, of like people wanting more control over their social media experience and being able to define exactly their interests. That doesn't necessarily represent like the vast majority of the 5 billion people that use social. They'd rather just passively be consume like content that's fed to them. But increasingly, there is a segment within that broader 5 billion monthly active user base of social media that want to have more control over their experiences. And Threads for Creators Hub, you added this morning, so I need to actually brief myself on what this is all about. Do you know what this is all about, Luan? Do you want to talk about
Threads have launched a Creators Hub, which is basically a page, a section of their website with advice on people who want to get more out of Threads. So the same as we see they do other content, they're just giving some top tips on how to set up your profile, what kind of content to look for. So if you haven't thought about Threads yet, or you want to dive deeper into Threads, they've pushed out some advice.
Beautiful. Love it. YouTube, as we were talking about, they're adding a trends feed, which right now is focused on trending sounds, of which hasn't been as easy to find on YouTube Shorts as it is on Instagram. People are reporting incredible results from YouTube Shorts right now. Of course, they operate at an incredibly high level. Like Duolingo have just been reporting how they've achieved 394 million views in YouTube Shorts over the last 3 months, because they've started to realize that their engagement of the favorite Duolingo owl on TikTok, they were starting to decrease. So they're kind of starting to diversify their strategy into YouTube, and they're seeing incredible results from it. And of course, hooking into trending sounds is a key part of that. This is very interesting, actually. So whilst it's not necessarily directly related to our businesses who are using social media to market themselves, this Hype Creator Amplification Program, and this is rolling out slowly, but it's, rather than like, if I saw a post from Luan, I would like it, and that's a signal to the algorithm that, hey, that post was good. Hyping a video is kind of like a super like, if you will, where you don't actually have as many to give out over a day, where you could super like something, which is then going to amplify that video because you're like, I love it. And, I find that quite interesting. And I wonder what's going to happen with something like this is, we're starting to see like the ways that we engage with content and our habits around engagement, whether it's a reduction in how much we're commenting, as we've been talking about, or whether it's new ways to signal our appreciation for something. This is going to be very interesting to watch. This again speaks to the volume of like TikTok and YouTube really understand how the creator economy works. And Instagram's been a little bit more behind the curve, but they're getting there. And TikTok and LinkedIn still needs to wake up a little bit here, but like the creator economy is significant, and how brands will increasingly use social media to get in front of their audience will increasingly shift to personalities, whether it's ambassadors or influencers, creators, whatever. And YouTube, again, making it much easier for you to kind of request a brand partnership. So if an individual uses a certain product and loves it, they can actually request a brand partnership if they're talking about that product in their shorts anyway. Again, just making it easier for brands and creators to work together, which historically has been a pretty challenging place. Whilst this won't solve it all, just goes to show like the direction, the importance of like broader personality-led growth. And holy moly, we made it with 10 minutes to go.
Wow.
Should we do a bit of a summary?
Yes.
I'll do this one, and then you can do the next one.
Okay.
No surprises of what we're going to call out here. LinkedIn video is hot right now. I think there's a huge amount of potential. If you can get your leadership team or anyone in your organization that you think would be good on camera, show them the evidence that we shared, which was a screenshot from the FT about increasing usage from CEOs on LinkedIn. Get them on LinkedIn video. There is an attention arbitrage opportunity right now. There is more demand than there is supply. We need to get all over it. And typically engagement seems to be driven not by comments as much anymore. So looking at the posts that have performed really well on video on LinkedIn seem to be driven by dwell time. So the amount of views, so basically views over 3 seconds too. So that initial attention grabbing intro to the video is still absolutely key. reposts seem to have an unfairly weighted advantage. I was just looking at a few other like prominent creators posts we were discussing in a group earlier this week around like what's driven that post to 1 million and that one to 500,000, and the correlation between them all was a high volume of reposts. So I don't know that with any statistical significance, but certainly, early signs suggest that reposts are really important. So maybe think about that in how we can make our content shareable. Even just a call to action to say like, reshare this with someone else you think needs to see this. Something like that can help drive the right intent. Bluesky, Threads heating up. Like I said, there's going to be a stark divide between algorithm-driven, entertainment-first content that's about reach, and then ones that's about engagement. It's not the case of one or the other. It's about thinking, how does our strategy, our multiple platform strategy, factor in both of those? Facebook investing in Reels, like I said earlier, so with the Reels and kind of DM orientation and how much they're pushing on that, the Explore feed that's coming to Facebook too, is that an opportunity for those of us that have seen a decline and ever declining organic reach? Is that actually a way to reverse that? Because as we know, Reels is not dependent on your followers, as you were talking about, Luan. So maybe there's opportunity there. And then final point is literally just what I've been talking about. TikTok, YouTube, really understand the power of creators. I talk about this every single week, but every single month rather, and I'll continue to talk about it. It's the hill I will die on, is like, we need to think so long and hard about how our brand is represented in other people's feeds, and we need to focus on that more than what we say in our own feeds. Our brand will grow through word of mouth. The way we build word of mouth is through trust that's inherent in the communities that already have that trust with the people we want to serve. So working with creators, influencers, ambassadors, whatever, hugely important for our growth. So should we round out the year then?
So I can't believe it's December and we've done another year of this. So if this is your first time, which a couple of people have just said in the chat, we've been doing this for over 4 years, month in, month out. But as we said at the very beginning, there is always some common themes that we talk about every month. So I had a look back through our slide deck from the year to see what is coming out. And it's very much about what we've said today as well. Short form video content is increasingly important. We can't get away from this. It is not the easiest thing to do. Both Andy and I know that. Honestly, the more you do it, the easier it gets. I do one every Monday morning. I have stickers on my office floor of where to put my tripod legs. So I have it all set up. I move the tripod, I put it in the same position, I record it, done. It's about practice and consistency. So start doing it. It is out of comfort zones, but it is worth doing and practicing. B2B opportunities continue to increase, which we love. Opportunities on LinkedIn with newsletters and thought leadership ads. It is all about sharing, thinking about shareable content. As Andy said, telling people to share, or doing your post with share this with someone who needs to know. Private messaging is dropping. We need to be thinking, how will someone share this? Our primary metrics are changing on Meta, Facebook and Instagram to be about views, top of funnel. We've talked funnel a lot today, but it is really important to understand what role social media plays in our work and where the different parts sit as well. We haven't said AI for an hour, but we have done separate sessions on that, and it has come up throughout the year. The platform's adding in AI features using Gen AI tools as well. That is going to continue to happen. That is not going away. But please, if you are using ChatGPT for your posts, edit them, because I think it's now a game of being able to spot when someone hasn't.
Do you see that data actually? I think it was earlier this week about like 52% or something, or might have been even more, of like LinkedIn posts were analyzed as being AI generated.
Yeah, it stands out. We can see it. That's entirely up to you if you want to do that. But my suggestion would be a light edit. We also haven't talked about this today, but we've talked about it a lot this year, the importance of social search and brand discovery. Social media is no longer the add-on. It's not writing a press release and saying, pop it on social. You need to elevate its importance within your organization in conversations like you've been having about your website for many years. People can come across you first on social media platforms. That is the media channel that people are using for search. Got to be important. And finally, Andy and I have been doing this for over 4 years. We enjoy doing it as well, but collaboration is absolutely your key to unlocking growth.
Right.
If you want these slides, scan in this QR code. We'll leave it up on screen. You can watch the recording afterwards if you're not quite quick enough. We'll also put the link in the comments. But I think just a huge thank you to everyone that watches these every month. Andy, thank you for always starting off the slide deck and letting me mess it up on the morning of the day, going, oh, I've just added this in. We love doing it. We hope to see you at every session next year. We will keep doing them. The dates are in our calendar, the last Thursday of every month at 11 o'clock, where we possibly can. And we will bring to you news very soon once we've caught up next week and start planning next year's B2B forum in November.
Amazing. And yeah, I echo all of that. Thank you so much for spending the time with us. It means a great deal because we know how busy everyone is. And I really hope everyone gets an opportunity to turn off social media, turn off those notifications for at least a week or two over the holiday period. I think we all deserve to switch off a little bit. But yeah, thank you, everyone. Thank you, Luan. And we'll see you in January.
See you soon.